The old clock on the kitchen counter ticked softly, signaling 6 a.m. The dim light flickered above, casting long shadows across the small room. Sophia Morgan sat in silence, her hands gently cradling a cold cup of coffee. The exhaustion from the previous day weighed heavily on her, but sleep had long become a rare luxury. As an administrative assistant at Maxwell Holdings, one of London's most prominent financial firms, her days were filled with endless tasks and responsibilities. Yet, no matter how tired she felt, Sophia knew she couldn't afford to slow down. Life as a single mother required more strength than she sometimes thought she had. Her eyes drifted to the corner of the room where her 4-year-old son Liam lay asleep on a small bed. His chest rose and fell in peaceful rhythm, his tiny face framed by soft curls. Sophia smiled softly to herself. Despite all the hardships, Liam was her greatest joy, the reason she kept pushing forward. But as she watched him sleep, a pang of sadness tugged at her heart. Those familiar blue eyes, they reminded her of a man she had tried to forget for the past 5 years. Sophia sighed softly as memories of the past came flooding back. She once had everything: a bright future as an outstanding economics student at the University of Manchester, with prestigious scholarships and multiple internship offers from top financial firms. She had dreamed of making a name for herself in the finance industry and transforming her life through her hard work. But everything changed in just one night. An unexpected event turned her world upside down. Sophia discovered she was pregnant during her final year of university. She had waited for an explanation from the father of her child, Ethan Maxwell, but he disappeared without a trace, as if he had never been a part of her life. Faced with a brutal decision, Sophia had only 2 options: give up her child to pursue her career, or keep the child and sacrifice the future she had worked so hard for. After many sleepless nights, she made her choice. She chose her child, fully aware that the road ahead would be difficult. The cost of that decision was harsh. Sophia dropped out of school, losing the career opportunities she had fought so hard to earn. The early years of being a single mother were filled with tears and relentless struggles. With no degree and no experience, she could only take on temporary jobs, working as a waitress, receptionist, and retail clerk, just to make ends meet. She worked tirelessly, often from morning until late at night, saving every penny to provide for Liam. It wasn't until Liam turned 3 that she finally landed a stable position as an administrative assistant at Maxwell Holdings. The salary wasn't much, but it gave her some financial stability to pay for rent and bills. Even so, life remained far from easy. Living in a small apartment on the outskirts of London, Sophia fought to conceal her exhaustion each day. She never wanted Liam to feel the burden of her struggles. Yet, every day, the same question echoed in her mind: am I strong enough to keep going? It was a morning like any other. Sophia hurried to prepare breakfast for Liam, helped him into his school uniform, and double-checked his backpack before leaving the house. She was used to the daily rush, a routine that had become second nature to her. But just as she was about to head out the door, her phone suddenly rang. "I'm sorry, Sophia, I can't watch Liam today. Something urgent came up," the babysitter's apologetic voice echoed through the line. Sophia's heart sank. She tightened her grip on the phone, her voice tinged with desperation. "But I'm about to be late for work. I can't leave him home alone." "I really am sorry. Maybe you can find someone else to help," the babysitter sighed before hanging up. Sophia lowered the phone, feeling as if the world had just caved in on her. She had no family in London, and her friends were tied up with their own lives. Who could she possibly turn to now? She glanced at the clock, less than 30 minutes until she had to be at the office. If she was late, she risked being reprimanded, or worse, fired. Her gaze shifted to Liam, who stood quietly with bright, innocent eyes, completely unaware of the difficult decision his mother was facing. Sophia took a deep breath. There was no other option. She had to take Liam with her to work. With Liam's small hand in hers, Sophia walked through the towering, sleek Maxwell Holdings building. Anxiety gnawed at her as they stepped inside the revolving glass doors. Employees in sharp, tailored suits bustled past, too preoccupied to notice the small woman holding a 4-year-old boy's hand. Sophia clutched Liam's hand tighter, silently praying that she could keep him unnoticed in her office for the entire day. Children weren't allowed in this professional environment. If anyone found out, the consequences could be severe. But Sophia had no idea that fate had other plans. In just a moment, her son would unknowingly come face to face with a man she had avoided for years, a meeting that would turn her entire world upside down. Liam couldn't stay still for long in the cramped office. In the brief moment that Sophia glanced down to check her emails, he slipped out of the room, his small feet padding across the marble floors with excitement. "Liam," Sophia gasped, spinning around to find the chair next to her empty. Panic surged through her as she rushed out the door, her heart pounding and her palms damp with sweat. Down the grand executive hallway, Liam wandered through the vast, luxurious corridors. Everything felt mysterious and fascinating to him. As he ran forward, he suddenly collided with a tall man dressed in a flawless, expensive suit. "Careful," the man's deep, cold voice rumbled. Liam stumbled backward and looked up, his wide eyes locking onto the man's face. Shock flickered in the boy's gaze. This stranger had the same striking blue eyes as him. "Daddy!" Liam shouted in excitement. Then, without hesitation, he wrapped his arms around the man's leg. A deadly silence fell over the hallway. Employees froze in their tracks, their eyes wide in disbelief. Ethan Maxwell, the renowned CEO known for his distant and impersonal nature, now stood with a child clinging to him, calling him Dad. Ethan's entire body tensed as he stared down at the boy. "Who is this child?" he demanded, his voice low and filled with suspicion. Just then, Sophia came rushing down the corridor, her face pale with terror. The sight of her son clinging to Ethan sent a cold wave of dread through her. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Maxwell. This is just a misunderstanding. I'll take my son and leave immediately," Sophia stammered as she reached out to pull Liam away. But Ethan's sharp gaze stopped her in her tracks. His eyes narrowed as he studied her face, searching for answers. "Wait, why did this boy call me Dad?" Sophia froze. Her mind raced, but she couldn't find the words. This was the moment she had dreaded for years. The moment when the truth she had worked so hard to hide would finally come to light. That afternoon, as Sophia tried to avoid any further confrontation with Ethan, a nightmare she never expected struck suddenly. Her phone rang, and the panicked voice of Liam's daycare teacher filled the line. "Morgan, Liam is missing. A man came to pick him up, but we couldn't verify his identity." The words hit Sophia like a lightning bolt. She froze, her entire body trembling. Her mind spiraled into chaos as fear gripped her heart. Fighting back tears, she quickly called the police. But waiting wasn't an option. Desperately, she dialed Ethan's number, her hands trembling. The moment his deep voice came through the line, her composure shattered like glass. "Ethan, Liam's been kidnapped," she cried, her voice breaking between sobs. I don't know what to do. Please, you have to help." A chilling silence followed before Ethan responded, his voice cold but steady. "Tell me everything. Who took him?" I don't know. No one saw who it was. Ethan, please, you have to help," Sophia pleaded through her sobs. "Stay calm. I'll find him," Ethan assured her. His tone grew sharper. "But listen carefully. From now on, you don't get to make decisions about Liam on your own. Not anymore." Sophia didn't care about his warning. All that mattered was getting her son back safely. At an abandoned warehouse, Liam sat tied to a chair, tears streaming down his cheeks. His small body trembled, but he didn't scream. Despite the fear gripping him, there was a quiet resolve in his wide, blue eyes. Victor Harrington, one of Ethan's old enemies, stood nearby with a gun in hand. A sinister grin spread across his face as the warehouse doors creaked open. Ethan strode inside, his cold, piercing gaze locked onto Victor. "You got here faster than I expected, Maxwell," Victor sneered. Ethan didn't look at him. His eyes were solely focused on Liam. "Daddy," Liam whispered weakly, his voice trembling with fear and hope. "Let him go," Ethan commanded, his tone deadly serious. Victor chuckled darkly, pressing the gun closer to Liam's temple. "Do you really think I'll just hand him over?" "I'll take his place," Ethan said calmly, taking a deliberate step forward. "What the hell are you saying?" Victor's grin faltered in surprise. "Your problem is with me, not him. Let the boy go and I'll give you whatever you want," Ethan continued, his voice unwavering, cutting through the tension like a blade. A sudden noise from outside startled Victor. Instinctively, his finger twitched on the trigger. The gunshot echoed, shattering the silence. The gunshot echoed through the warehouse, sending a jolt of terror through Sophia as she stood outside. For a moment, everything around her seemed to spin. She burst through the doors, her vision blurring with panic. Her breath hitched painfully in her throat as she saw Ethan lying on the ground, blood soaking his pant leg. "No, Ethan!" she screamed, stumbling forward, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. "No!" Sophia screamed, tears streaming down her face as she rushed toward him. But Ethan paid no attention to the wound. His gaze remained locked on Liam. Ignoring the searing pain in his leg, he forced himself forward, crawling on the cold concrete until he reached his son. His hands shook as he untied the ropes binding the boy. "You're safe now, I'm here," he rasped, his voice strained from both pain and emotion. Liam sobbed and threw his arms around Ethan's neck, clinging to him tightly. "Dad, please don't leave me again." Ethan held Liam close, wrapping his arms protectively around his son as if anchoring him to reality. His voice broke under the weight of emotion, but his words were firm. "I'll never leave you again. Never." At the hospital, a calm silence enveloped the room. The steady beeping of monitors was the only sound breaking the stillness. Ethan lay on the hospital bed, his face pale but composed. His eyes were half closed in exhaustion, but he remained alert. Sophia sat beside him, gently placing a hand on his forehead to check his temperature. She hadn't left his side all night. "How are you feeling?" she asked softly, her voice tender. Ethan slowly opened his eyes and looked at her. It wasn't a passing glance like before. This was a deep, genuine gaze, as if he was finally allowing himself to truly see her. He took a deep breath, knowing it was time to say what he had kept hidden for so long. "Sophia, I love you. I've loved you since 5 years ago," he said slowly, each word carrying the weight of his emotions. Sophia froze, her heart racing. But you left without a word," she whispered, her voice trembling with vulnerability. "I was afraid. I didn't know how to handle my feelings," Ethan admitted, his voice raw. "But when I found out you had been raising Liam alone all these years, I knew I couldn't keep running." Sophia's hand tightened around his. Tears welled in her eyes. "I never needed your money or your power. I just needed you. Someone who could be a real father to Liam and someone who was willing to open his heart to me." Those words melted away the last of Ethan's defenses. He realized he didn't have to bear everything alone anymore. For the first time in years, he truly felt at peace. A few days after his discharge from the hospital, Ethan returned home with Sophia and Liam. As they walked into the small front yard, Sophia noticed Ethan watching her with a determined expression. The setting sun cast a golden glow over the garden. Ethan slowly dropped to one knee and opened a small velvet box. A dazzling diamond ring sparkled inside, catching the last rays of sunlight. Sophia gasped, covering her mouth in shock. "Ethan, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm proposing, Sophia," he said softly, his tone warm but resolute. "But this is happening so fast, Sophia stammered, her heart racing. Ethan smiled gently, his eyes reflecting sincerity and unshakable determination. "5 years ago, I made the mistake of running away from my feelings," Ethan began, his voice trembling slightly. His eyes glistened as he looked deeply into Sophia's. "I've already lost too much time, but now I won't waste another second." He took a shaky breath, his voice lowering with raw emotion. "Marry me, Sophia. Let's raise Liam together and build the family we both deserve." From the side, Liam clapped excitedly, his eyes lighting up with joy. "Say yes, Mom. I want you and Dad to get married." Sophia laughed through her tears, her heart swelling with happiness. She looked at Ethan, the man who had changed, who had opened his heart, and who now placed family above everything else. She nodded gently, her voice steady despite the emotion welling inside her. "Yes, I'll marry you." Their wedding wasn't extravagant. It was a simple, intimate ceremony with only their closest loved ones in attendance. For Sophia and Ethan, there was no need for luxury or grandeur. Their happiness lay in love, trust, and the commitment they had made to each other. Months later, on a bright sunny afternoon, Sophia, Ethan and Liam strolled through the park, the very place where all the twists and turns of their story had begun. Liam ran across the grass, his cheerful laughter echoing through the air. Sophia and Ethan walked hand in hand, smiling as they watched their son play. For the first time in years, Sophia felt at peace. The burdens and fears that had weighed on her heart melted away. She had finally found her true home. Ethan felt the same. The days of cold detachment and loneliness were now a distant memory. He had come to realize that the most valuable thing in his life wasn't power or wealth. It was his family. Together they were building a new future, one free of distance and doubt, filled only with love, trust, and hope. Love isn't just passion or attraction. It's also about commitment and responsibility. Ethan had spent years chasing the wrong things, believing that emotional detachment would protect him, but he almost lost the people who mattered most. True happiness lies in family. Sophia and Liam. Did this story touch your heart? Leave a comment below and tell us what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a meaningful story.